History often paints its heroes with bold strokes, but every now and then, a figure emerges from the shadows, defying all expectations, blurring the lines between heroism and infamy. Vlad III, known by many as Vlad the Impaler, was one such enigmatic character. Vlad the Impaler, infamous ruler of Wallachia, struck fear into the hearts of his enemies and etched his name into the pages of history with acts of unimaginable cruelty. But in this tale, we witness a side of Vlad that unveils a strategy so audacious, so macabre, that it would go down in history as the most gruesome defense tactic ever conceived. In the 15th century, Wallachia found itself besieged by an overwhelming force, the Ottoman Empire. Led by Sultan Mehmed II, this formidable army had set its sights on conquering the land, unleashing terror as they marched forward. It seemed as though Wallachia would crumble before the might of the Ottomans, until Vlad unleashed his horrifying secret weapon. With cunning and a merciless resolve, Vlad devised a plan that would forever stain the pages of history with blood. In a twisted display of psychological warfare, he constructed a forest, not with trees, but with the impaled bodies of fallen enemies. Rows upon rows of lifeless corpses formed an impenetrable barrier, an unsettling testament to Vlad's resolve and the depths of his desperation. As the invading Ottoman forces came face to face with this grotesque spectacle, their hearts filled with terror. The stench of death engulfed the air, amplifying the psychological torment Vlad sought to unleash upon his foes. But would this sinister display be enough to halt the relentless advance of the Ottoman Empire? Join us on this captivating journey as we explore the twisted mind of Vlad the Impaler and the extraordinary lengths he went to defend his homeland. In the year 1461, Vlad III found himself in the midst of his second reign as the ruler of Wallachia, a small Balkan country nestled between the formidable powers of Hungary and the Ottoman Empire. Within his short 5 years on the throne, reputation for his sadistic acts of cruelty, beheadings, burnings, boilings, mutilations, and impaling had become chillingly commonplace under his rule. But it was not only his penchant for torture that made him a figure of infamy. Vlad had also earned the wrath of the formidable Ottoman Sultan Mehmed II. It all began with Vlad's refusal to pay the Herat, an annual tribute that the Ottomans demanded from their non-Muslim neighbors. This act of defiance drew the ire of Mehmed II, who saw it as a challenge to his authority. In an attempt to collect the taxes owed, the Sultan dispatched 2 envoys to Wallachia. Little did they know that their ill-fated mission would end in a gruesome spectacle. Vlad, unyielding in his defiance, ordered the execution of both envoys, ensuring their deaths would be as torturous as his reputation dictated. Impalement, his preferred method of execution, was chosen as their fate. The envoys met a horrifying end, their bodies impaled on spikes, serving as a warning to all who dared to challenge Vlad's authority. But Vlad's thirst for vengeance did not stop there. He took his fury across the Danube River, venturing into Ottoman territory. With merciless precision, he razed villages to the ground and demolished defensive structures, leaving a trail of destruction in his wake. The Ottomans watched in dismay as Vlad's wrath engulfed their lands, realizing that this was a ruler who would stop at nothing to protect his realm. The events of that winter marked a turning point in the volatile relationship between Vlad and the Ottoman Empire. The Sultan had underestimated the depths of Vlad's cruelty and resolve. The stage was set for a clash of powers, a battle that would test the limits of human savagery and strategic cunning. Mehmed, known as the Conqueror for his momentous sacking of Constantinople and the collapse of the Byzantine Empire, was not one to take Vlad's actions lightly. Fueled by vengeance, the Sultan swiftly assembled an army of approximately 90,000 soldiers, nearly matching the force he had commanded during the siege of Constantinople. Their objective was clear: to march upon Wallachia and bring Vlad to his knees. On the other side, Vlad hastily conscripted a peasant militia of roughly 30,000 armed Wallachians, armed with spears and bows. As the Ottoman forces advanced through Wallachia towards the capital city of Targoviste, Vlad employed a scorched earth strategy. He ordered the burning of crops, the poisoning of wells, and the evacuation of villages in the path of the Ottoman army, leaving them devoid of any provisions. Meanwhile, Vlad's guerrilla tactics came into play. His soldiers, skilled in the art of hit-and-run warfare, launched surprise attacks from the cover of the dense forest, aiming to impede the Ottoman advance. However, despite their valiant efforts, the ragtag Wallachian resistance proved unable to halt the relentless march of the Sultan's army. Soon, the Ottomans encamped just outside the gates of Targoviste, the final bastion of defense. Cornered within his own city, Vlad found himself faced with an increasingly dire situation. But the resilient ruler was not one to yield easily. In a daring move, on the night of June 17, 1462, Vlad led a daring cavalry raid deep into the heart of the Ottoman camp. His audacious plan was to personally assassinate Mehmed, swiftly eliminating the Sultan before his forces could awaken from their slumber. However, fortune did not favor Vlad on this fateful night. In the darkness, he became disoriented and mistakenly attacked the wrong tent. Instead of the Sultan, he found himself face to face with the Ottoman Grand Vizier and another high-ranking official. The Wallachian raiders were quickly repelled as the Ottoman troops regrouped, forcing Vlad and his remaining soldiers to flee into the cover of the night. Vlad's audacious attempt had failed. He had to think fast. As Mehmed and his troops pressed on, their anticipation grew. The walls of Targoviste loomed before them, seemingly unguarded and eerily open. To their astonishment, there was no sign of resistance from the city's inhabitants. Confusion mingled with their triumph as the Ottoman army marched unimpeded through the gates. However, the scene that awaited them within the city's boundaries would forever haunt their memories. A grotesque spectacle unfolded before their eyes, a sinister forest of wooden stakes reaching skyward, each one adorned with the gruesome trophy, the lifeless, impaled bodies of Ottoman soldiers. The magnitude of this horrifying display was staggering. Chaco Condyles, an eyewitness Greek historian of the time, documented the existence of approximately 20,000 corpses spanning an area of over 7 acres. Among the macabre collection, it was rumored that the tallest stake upheld the lifeless form of Hamza Pasha, the very Ottoman official who had led the ill-fated envoy to Vlad for tribute the previous year. It appeared that Vlad, in his twisted strategy, had been amassing corpses from previous conflicts, stockpiling them for this very moment. The fate of the bodies and the exact origin of each one remained shrouded in ambiguity, but the impact of this ghastly scene was undeniable. The balance of power had shifted. Mehmed's conquest had met an unfathomable obstacle. The invincible Sultan now faced a choice: press on and risk further carnage, or retreat and reassess his strategies. As Chaco Condyles described, the Sultan stood in stunned disbelief at the haunting sight before him. The grotesque forest of impaled bodies bore witness to Vlad's unparalleled savagery and his cunning understanding of governing his realm. Mehmed, acknowledging the magnitude of Vlad's deeds and his unyielding spirit, couldn't help but recognize the worth of such a formidable adversary. Unable to shake off the impact of the ghastly display, Mehmed made a decision. With a mix of awe, fear, and respect, he ordered his army to about-face and retreat to their Turkish homeland. The forest of corpses had accomplished what seemed impossible. It had dissuaded the conqueror himself. But Vlad's triumph was bittersweet. His forces were decimated, and the scorched earth tactics he employed had ravaged his own land. Adding to his woes, Mehmed had cunningly left Vlad's younger brother Radu behind with a contingent of Ottoman troops. Radu wasted no time in fanning the flames of rebellion, rallying the Wallachian boyars, the feudal lords of the land, to his cause. According to Chaco Condyles, convincing the Wallachian boyars to rebel against Vlad was not a difficult task. Radu, seizing the opportunity to exploit his brother's misdeeds, spoke with persuasive favor. He highlighted the devastation that had befallen Wallachia, the absence of livestock and pack animals, and the immense suffering endured under Vlad's rule. Radu portrayed his brother as an unholy figure, responsible for unparalleled harm inflicted upon their homeland. Vlad himself in a precarious position, his enemies were multiplying, and his own resources were severely depleted. The fate of Wallachia hung in the balance as Radu gained momentum, exploiting the weakened state of the land and its ruler. The once indomitable Vlad the Impaler now faced a new chapter in his tumultuous reign, a chapter fraught with internal strife and the threat of betrayal. The boyars, their resentment simmering beneath the surface, found solace in Radu's words. They rallied behind his cause, and by November, Vlad's reign came to a swift and abrupt end. Deposed and imprisoned in Hungary, Vlad's fate seemed sealed. Little did anyone know that he would return to the throne one final time 14 years later, only to meet his demise in a battle just 2 months into his reign. In a tragic twist of fate, it was Basarab Lyota, a rival of Vlad's backed by none other than the Ottoman Sultan Mehmed II himself, who delivered the fatal blow. But the tale doesn't end here. Subscribe to our channel for more gripping historical narratives that delve into the depths of human resilience, ambition, and the pursuit of power. Hit that notification bell to never miss an episode and join our community of history enthusiasts.